Hello and welcome to Policies Affecting Healthcare Blockchain Adoption. My name is TYates and this is for HCM 820, the Doctor of Healthcare Administration degree. And speaking of blockchain, so blockchain isn't a new technology, but it is a new implementation of existing technologies, particularly encryption and more importantly, hashing. Now, the first implementations of blockchain were in cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Once people realized that the blockchain enforcing truth and immutability worked for digital money, they started applying blockchain outside of cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies can be thought of as pseudonymous, or that the spender and recipient aren't readily known in any particular transaction. Is that a problem? Well, it is for law enforcement and securities watchdogs. So, enter policy and regulation of not only cryptocurrencies, but blockchain as a whole. So the truth and trust enforced by blockchains is thought to be able to transform many industries, of which healthcare is just one. If we look at the existing research and results, one of the key factors in blockchain adoption is whether the policies and regulations that are developing around blockchain will have a positive, negative, or neutral impact on the providers and staffers in healthcare who are expected to use it. Now, the Affordable Care Act, with all of its good intentions, had the effect of creating data silos inside the vendor products that serve healthcare workers. Laws such as HIPAA and high tech govern much of the privacy that surrounds healthcare, something that blockchain can be particularly adept at enforcing. The key lies in molding the 5 main services of blockchain into a solution that can provide true value. Those services include consensus, validity, uniqueness, immutability, and authentication. And those can be selected like items on a menu in whatever combination is needed to address a particular problem. Now, consensus means that all parties who are stakeholders to a shared fact are certain that the other stakeholders see that exact same fact. Concept of validity lets stakeholders know that any updates to the ledger are valid. Uniqueness allows for the capacity in the case of multiple updates to the system to decide which, if any, of the updates on which to agree. And immutability is enforced by the fact that none of the other stakeholders will accept a transaction that relies on a modified version of the data that already exists on the chain. Authentication refers to the use of private keys to sign transactions, meaning there is no concept of a master key or administrator password. Now, as I said, the right combination of these services in whatever order or configuration that makes sense allows for a flexible blockchain solution. Now, of the 5 services, the most important is probably immutability, and the diagram below illustrates how that's accomplished. Remember our earlier discussion of the term hashing. Hashing means taking an object, such as your prospectus, for instance, and inserting it into a hashing algorithm, which you can just think of as a black box. Your prospectus goes in, the hashing happens, and out comes a 32-character string that represents the hash of that document. Now, every time you run your prospectus through that hashing black box, you'll get the same exact 32-character string. However, if you were to change the document by something even as simple as adding a comma or a space, the resulting 32-character string produced by the hash would be very noticeably different. So in the diagram below, if all of the transactions and the header of block 1 are hashed and added to block 2, block 1 can't be changed once block 2 is established, thereby the term blockchain. So if we go over to look at our research methods, we start with the notion that policy analysis tells us that laws like the Affordable Care Act can be considered in some measure as a government failure. The research is intended to test the attitudes of providers and staffers on whether they are receptive to blockchain implementation and any regulations or policies that may accompany it. It is a qualitative analysis, and the hypothesis is that the attitudes toward blockchain adoption and any concomitant rules or policies will be mixed, but trending toward the negative. The research will include personal interviews, surveys, and observations, and the researcher's role will be that of interviewer, survey manager, data collector, observer, and data analyst. Now, finally, if we consider expert opinions such as Gartner regarding blockchain, they say that the technology is in a hype cycle, much like the development of the internet itself. The stages of the cycle include 1. Innovation triggers, 2. Oversized expectations, 3. Disillusionment, 4. Enlightenment and energy, and finally, number 5, ending in a plateau of productivity. So in their opinion, they conclude that healthcare is only in stages 1 and 2 of the cycle, which leaves a lot of room for growth of both the technology and the regulations and policies that will govern it into the future of healthcare. Thank you for listening.